DGE supports several platforms out of the box. The common ones, which I'll go through right now. So Windows, obviously, we support deploying agents to monitor Windows servers. They must be Server 2008 or higher. And we support them by either deploying a local agent, which deploys an agent on the server itself. We actually install a file system driver to intercept calls to the operating system for things like monitoring activities. We also support Windows remotely. So if you want to have an agent on one machine watching a Windows server remotely, you can do that as well. However, there's some limitations to that. You won't get any resource activity collection with the exception of security changes. So where possible, deploy agents locally because you'll get more information, but we also support remote as well. Clusters as well. So Windows Server 2008 or Server 2012 clusters, we support those, which basically act the same as a remote Windows. For the NAS devices, we support NetApp, and something in 7.02 that's new is we support both 7 mode and clustered mode NetApp. So clustered mode is in ONTAP version 8.0 and higher. We now support it natively with DGE in terms of both security scanning and watching for resource activity. So as long as you have a NetApp running version ONTAP 7.3 or higher in either clustered, 7 mode and then an 8.0 clustered or 7 mode, then DGE can support it. EMC, we support Celera, we support VNX, not VNXE. So if you have VNXE, it's not supported by us. And Isilon as well. So, and then there's specific versions of the technology within EMC that is a requirement as well, and that can be found in the documentation. Something new for DGE is NFS support. So if you have an NFS file system running on either an EMC Isilon device or on NetApp, just those two. So NFS on either Isilon or NetApp, and on NetApp it can be either in clustered or 7 mode. DGE will support that as well. In order to support NFS, you must have the Unix module installed in One Identity Manager, which is the UNX. We support SharePoint 2010 or SharePoint 2013, but we do not support standalone SharePoint instances, so it must be a normal AD integrated SharePoint. And then we have 2 other types of supported managed hosts within DGE. One of them is called generic. So in order to deploy generic host, basically you pick the server that's added to Active Directory, go manage host, and then there's a type that you can select, which is of type generic. Basically what generic is it allows you to use DGE to scan SMB shares on devices. So regardless of the device type, if it's an SMB share, then DGE can target that, scan it, and then do security indexing and reporting on it. It does not support any concept of resource activity, neither for watching for security changes or any other type of resource activity. So there's a big limitation into what generic can support. However, if you do have some device that you're only interested in scanning the SMB-based security, then that option is there. And finally, we have a type of managed host that's quite different than the others. It's DFS. DFS host really isn't an actual physical device. DFS is really just infrastructure. It's AD infrastructure, which allows you to abstract or hide information about the underlying servers in which shares exist. For AD integrated DFS, you can add DFS namespaces within DGE. DGE will enumerate through the DFS infrastructure and store that information centrally within the One Identity Manager database. And the reason we do that is for a few things. With DFS integrated and synchronized via DGE, we can then use that information in our reporting. So for example, if I want to run a resource access report on a share, and that share happens to also be shared via DFS, then we'll report that information within the report. But above and beyond that, DFS has a higher level use case within the product. With DFS synchronized by DGE, you can actually take a DFS path and you can place it under governance. You can assign owners to it. You can run activity reports on it, although the activity on a DFS route or a DFS folder is actually the activity that we collect on the underlying server that hosts the share that that DFS folder represents. So yes, you can run DFS activity, but really you require the agent to collect the native activity that that DFS represents. So those are the supported platforms from DGE, and we're also looking to add more in future releases.